Perfect Turd Podcast, episode 263, Lamar, the last Kumite.
Whoa. Can we sing that song? We don't want to get sued. We don't want to get, we don't get, sorry, YouTube.
Damn it.
But we're going to talk about that because this movie is basically a throwback to like those 80s, martial arts tournament films. There's a lot of stuff behind this, people behind this movie. It's a love letter to like the 80s martial arts movies.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, Lamar, I'm a tough customer because Bloodsport is one of my favorite movies of all time. Yes. I love Bloodsport. I know all the lines of dialogue, every scene. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you remember that scene where Jackson goes and he's like, "Aren't you a little young for full contact?" And then Van Damme is like, "Aren't you a little old for video games?" Remember that?
That was great acting. You nailed it. You nailed it.
And then they meet their guide Ling, and he's like, "You Jackson, you look like a Jackson, and that'll make you Frank Dux." And no, it's Dukes. Like put up your dukes, right? Remember that part?
Yes, I do, Joe.
I love that movie, Lamar.
Yes.
Remember the part when like they're going to the Kumite and they're in that one old Chinese guy's like, "Okay, USA."
Yes, I remember that
part. I'm holding this movie to that standard as we judge, Lamar.
Oh boy.
So we'll start the way we always start. What did we think of the story?
Well, Joe, in 80s fashion, and I don't know if this was maybe mid 80s to 90s, you have a single dad because the mom died from something. He's raising his daughter, and he's in a karate tournament, which he wins, but he's like, "This is the last one. I'm done. My wife didn't like when I was fighting," but he is given another chance to be in the tournament by a Ron Hall, who we're going to talk about, who plays these roles. Mm-hmm. And he forces him to participate in the Last Jumite against some of the greatest fighters. Yeah.
And all the fighters are being coerced in because all their loved ones have been kidnapped.
Yeah, they really want to make this happen. Yeah.
Well, Lamar, I didn't dislike it, but I thought that the story, well, I've seen this exact plot point multiple times.
Yes.
So that's the problem. I think it didn't have like a lot of originality, but you could tell the filmmakers loved, the source material. There was a lot of passion for the source material.
I agree. I will say my biggest problem was the pacing of this movie. I feel like the tournament, I will say this, the tournament, I can't talk today because I'm just so enthralled by your Bloodsport t-shirt, but I feel like the tournament made up for the wait. We're going to talk about martial arts and everything like that in the fight scenes. But like getting there, because like in Bloodsport, things kind of happen quicker. Like you get to the point.
They get right into it.
Yeah.
And right into the tournament. Now in Bloodsport, there's more like details to the tournament. Like remember they had the sign that flipped with the names. They had like, even the referee was kind of almost like a character. This didn't have like a lot of attention to details in the same way. Mm-hmm. A lot of it was spent on them training for the tournament. That was kind of a problem for me because they were all kidnapped, the family. They brought these guys in to fight, and then they gave them like a period of time to train.
Yeah.
So, what do you give it for story?
I'll give it half a point.
I agree. Half point.
Yes.
It's a half-baked a little bit. Well, our next category, Lamar, is what do we think of the characters?
Okay. Now, we're saying that, the story it needed a little seasoning, but you can also tell how much they love these old school movies by the talent they got.
Yes.
And I know this is probably going into casting, but I don't care because it's my point to make anyway. So, you got the main villain. Ron Hall is played by Matthias Hughes, who is in a lot of B-movie martial arts movies. Kurt McKinney, he was in a lot of B-movie martial arts movies. Billy Blanks.
Yeah.
Cynthia Rothrock,
Good one.
Michael Kizzy, if I'm saying his name right. He was the bad guy in Kickboxer.
Yeah, Tong Po.
Tong Po.
And then I
You
think his
have
brother,
his
also in the
brother
movie,
is in it.
he was in Bloodsport, and then he played Attila in Lionheart.
See, yes,
And
and then you
yep.
go ahead.
I was gonna say
Do your blood sports.
but I was gonna say they got Bolo Young's son a little part in the movie, and of course Bolo Young played Chung Lee, the villain from Bloodsport. Remember that part in Bloodsport where he looks at Van Damme and he's like, "You break my record, now I break you, like I break your friend."
Yes,
That's
because
a
he
good
had
part.
the bandana tied on his leg.
It's a
Yes.
great part.
Also, let's add this, and this is like a random fact. They had a YouTuber by the name of David Kurzall. I think
Yep.
he's known as the Viking Samurai. He's
Yep.
also a martial artist, and he's in this movie.
He is. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
good
mean,
cast.
as far as like getting them together, especially the OG cast was good. The main actor, the main hero, he was good like as a martial artist and stuff, but he just doesn't have charisma. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
not as much. He doesn't have the charisma of a leading man. Let's say, like he'd be a good secondary character. I feel.
Gotcha.
You know, they would have been better off with like a Scott Adkins or someone like that.
Well, guess what? This movie was originally wrote for Scott Adkins.
Was it? That makes
Yes.
more sense. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But overall, I mean, the characters, but in particular the OG characters, the villain, you know, he was real good. I will give it 1 point for characters.
Agreed. Yes.
Well, our next category, Lamar, is what do we think of the montages?
Well, there was a lot of them. I mean, once again, going back to the 80s and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I did like them. I will say this, like I liked them because remember when we watched what was it, Kickboxer, like what was it, Vengeance or something like that, and they had the montage that meant nothing.
Yeah.
This one, you see them actually, well, the main character training. You see all the other people training, and then you have some music to back it up. And who did the music?
The original,
Joe?
the Bloodsport composer, Lamar. Kumite, Kumite, Kumite.
We're gonna get so hit up.
And there was a lot of montages in Bloodsport, Lamar.
Yeah, there were.
Remember the montage when he's training with his Shidoshi?
Yes.
Because at first he didn't want to train him because his son had died.
Yes.
And he was like, "You are not Japanese. You are not a Tanaka."
Yeah.
But then Van Damme convinces him to train him, and then they start training him, and he's got him strung up on the ropes and everything.
And he learns how to fight blind.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was good.
But
this movie had the montages, but not. See, that's to my point was they don't stand out the way the montages in Bloodsport are very like unique to it themselves. Like, because you have the training with his Shidoshi, you have some of the other stuff. So you know, remember when he was torn at the end because Jackson was hurt, and all that, and he had to go and ride on the subway thing, you know. I'm gonna give it 0.5 point for montages, Lamar.
I gave it a full point. I enjoyed the montages.
Yeah, I didn't think they lived up to the Bloodsport montages.
Damn.
Well, our next category is what do we think of the martial arts / fight scenes?
For me, this is what made the movie interesting. I wish they would have made this like more of the whole movie. Because I think that's what's cool about these movies. You see like different martial arts and stuff like that from people, you know, like, or not like super different, but you have like a brawler, then you have like a kicker, and then they always have a capoeira person. And
remember
stuff like
in Bloodsport, they had the guy that did monkey style, and like he jumped up and like chopped the coconuts to train and stuff. Remember that?
Yes, I do. They also, in Bloodsport, they had a sumo wrestler. And he was the first, I think, wasn't he the first person to get the nut punch?
Yeah, Van Damme gave him the split nut punch. I do remember that, yep. Yeah. Well, in this movie, they had a lucha libre wrestler.
I thought he was going to do more. Like, when he started fighting, I was like, oh, okay. And, well, not to spoil anything, no.
That threw me for a loop. I started laughing when I was like, why did they have a lucha libre
Because
wrestler in
they
it?
needed Joe, different people. Because then they had someone who was more like doing like kung fu and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
like that part. I did like that.
They did
Yeah.
have one guy that I think was a little bit of a homage to Jackson because he was wearing
Mm-hmm.
the same kind of red sashed belt thing. So I was like, maybe maybe he's a relative to Jackson. Could be
That would be
a little
crazy.
connection.
Yeah.
My only problem with it was the fight scenes were actually they were well done. Everyone there
Mm-hmm.
was like good at martial arts. I just didn't think it had enough of the once again the uniqueness. Like remember the scene in
Mm.
Bloodsport where Van Damme had to use the dim mak, the death touch. Like
Yes.
they added that in there, like little things. Like I didn't think they utilized all of the elements of martial arts
Mm.
to its fullest potential here.
Mm. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I
Like
do.
we didn't get like all of, like the different styles that much.
Different characters that represent the different styles. I think they did the best they could.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I see what you're saying because like in other movies, like they'll like dress different, do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you give it for martial arts?
I mean, I gave it a 1. What did you give it,
I'm
Joe?
giving it a half point for martial arts, Lamar.
Oh boy. You are. I gotta give it to you. You're not pulling any punches. No pun intended.
No, hey, I told
You're
you.
not. Yeah.
I'm a huge Bloodsport fan. I hold it to that standard. And our next category, our last category, Lamar, is sequel potential.
I think it has potential because I feel like you can maybe bring like some other like old school martial artists. Because when this ended, I was like, they could get Gary Daniels. They
Hmm.
could get him. That would be cool because he's a known martial artist and stuff like that. Some other people, maybe if they're great enough, they could get like Sammo Hung and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Like that would be cool. Like I know they can't get like the super top tier martial artist, but it's still Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, there's some guy. Maybe Don the Dragon Wilson. That'd be a good
yes.
one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's definitely sequel potential in there because you could tell the people that made it really like love this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's like I think the only limitations that they have is the budget and resources and stuff, but they do
Hmm.
have the spirit of it.
And the spirit carried over to their fans because this was crowdfunded, partially crowdfunded, and
Yeah,
everything like that. So yeah,
yeah,
and then it was crowdfunded through, another YouTube channel. So bad it's good. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Because there was Bloodsport sequels that were terrible. So I'd rather see this than any of those sequels.
yeah. I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Well, what do you give it for sequel potential, Lamar?
I gave it a 1.
One. I'll agree. I'll give him a one.
Yes.
Well, Lamar, we've tallied the score, and this movie gets a 4 out of 5.
This is definitely a love letter made with a lot of admiration for those old school martial arts movies. Definitely, if they can do another one, I think we'll tune in, Joe.
Yes, I definitely will tune in for sure.
Yeah.
Remember when Jackson came in and Van Damme was doing his split on the chairs, and he's
Yes.
like, "Earth to Frankie." That's would be like when this comes out. We would tune in
Yes.
like that.
Yes, we would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So does that wrap it up then, Lamar?
it does, Joe.
Peace.
Deuces.
Got to end like this. Van Damme always ends.
Are you gonna do the split? Can you do the split? Okay, that counts. Yes. Yes. Yeah.